Hello and welcome to A Celtic World, the YouTube channel and podcast that celebrates Celtic fans all over the world. And I imagine Celtic fans all over the world are going to be pretty happy today. From Blantyre to Bern, from Springburn to Suzuka, hometown of Rio Hatai. You're very welcome to A Celtic World. So far, just myself and Ian. We are hoping for, we're definitely going to have a Brian later on, hopefully. So running a little bit late, and we may have the elusive Kaiser, depending on how last night's drink along went. Ian, first and foremost, thanks for turning up. Otherwise, I'd have been on my own. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Just trying to hold back the tears about Kyogo potentially leaving. I think that's really why Kaiser's not turning up. He's probably distraught, walking around Ibrox, just contemplating life without Kyogo.
Yeah, well, let's concentrate on the positives first, and then I'm sure we will turn on some speculation. And yeah, that it didn't take long for that to arrive and try and dampen the excitement somewhat. But I don't know. Thanks everybody in the comments. We've got a few regulars. Hail, lost by cock. Hail to you. Who else is in here? Some of the usual suspects. They're just launched into a chat. We've got Jason Quinn. What an amazing heart attack of a game. Yep. Didn't know if I'd get to work today. I thought I was going to die before the sun was even up. There's lots of other comments. You're all very welcome. Tam Max.
Brian's wanting in apparently.
Here he is. We'll just our loyal viewers will have to wait. At least they were here on time. And we bring it. Brian, how are you? I was just saying.
There's Brian Ireland again. There he is.
Oh.
Stephen Ireland's
brother.
I
don't want to do an Elon Musk here and do that, but the old heart was going a dinger last night, and apologies for all my negativity.
We'll get into that. There was plenty of negativity coming from you.
I can't watch Celtic. It was like that. I'm too old. I'm too nervous.
Well, yeah, it was some night, and we'll get into it in a minute. But look, thanks to everyone in the comments. For those of you that saw the last show on Monday, Gav's moved house, and the professional that he is, didn't trust himself or his technology to be absolutely spot on. So if it's not perfect, it's not good enough for Gav. So you've got the perfect trio of Ian, myself, and Brian. Just winging it as usual. It's sort of when the cat's away, the mice will play. So yeah, so no boss asking us about, is the lighting right? Are you in the middle of your screen? Is everyone sound okay? Brian, I'm not going to mention your curtains or your lighting or reflections or anything else. We're just going to crack on and try and bring ourselves back. You guys have had the benefit of a night's kip. You've probably sort of calmed down a little bit. You've woken up. Was it all a dream? You've relaxed. Ian, we'll get into the game in a bit, but having slept in it, how are you feeling about the game and where it sets us up?
Yeah, I mean, like I know we're not talking about the Kyogo stuff just yet, but that has affected my mood a wee bit. But I think reflecting on it, I think it was almost 90 minutes of stress last night, like kind of all bundled up. So that kind of stress is gone, and kind of reflecting on the fact that what is it, the first time since 2009 that we're through to the next stage of the Champions League. So I think it's fantastic achievement. I think over and above anything else, how we're playing, former players, blah, 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 like a really, really fantastic achievement. And I think, we all hoped when the Champions League changes came in that we would kind of benefit from it. And I think we kind of have, and you can kind of see how it's made it a bit more of a level playing field in terms of some of the teams that aren't making it, some of the teams that have made it and qualified already. So yeah, good sleep, and then waking up and excited excited for the Villa game now as well, because it's it should hopefully just be an entertaining game, and maybe we can do something and get up the English.
Well, yeah, like the pressure's off. If we hadn't managed to get that late winner, or that late chance had been a better contact, or either sat a bit further away from Schmeichel, and they got an equaliser somehow after building our way back into it, the mood would be very different today here and across sort of Celtic fans across the world. And there'd be, I think, a lot of trepidation going to Birmingham, and probably going in hope rather than expectation. Look, Villa have had an up and down season. They're clearly a good side, but they've had their moments, both good and bad, and they can be got at. I think I said it in the group chat, or maybe if not ours, then another one last night, or this morning at 4 or whatever it was, 5:30. That going there with having to get something, I wouldn't have had a massive amount of confidence of that. Going there with the pressure off, why not? Like, you know what I mean? The pressure. I'm not saying we'll get. I just feel like the mindset's a bit different. There's not that panic. It's, you know, I got shot down for saying Dortmund was a free hit. It was turned out that way. This is kind of a free hit as well. There'll be those that dare to dream, and fair play, dare to dream. If you beat Villa and other results go your way, we're maybe top 8. It's a possibility. Do I think that's going to happen? No. There's also even an argument of maybe losing isn't the worst thing, because, and we'll get into this later in the show, but where we might land in the playoff round isn't looking great from our current place. And unless we shoot right up the top end, it might be treacherous, but we're there, which is the main thing. But yeah, I just think going to Villa Park, where they'll feel pressure because they've spent most of the tournament in the top 8, and I think they'll expect and want to be back there, which needs a win. I don't think a draw is going to be good enough. So I think two teams can go out and try and win the game. I don't see a lot of point in us playing for a draw. So yeah, I think it should be a stonky game, Battle of Britain thrown into it. But essentially, really, pressure off for both teams. Playoff is a bare minimum for both teams. Brian, how are you feeling this morning? I know you were a bag of nerves. You were pretty much Celtic were in the bin. We'd ruined it. You were doing hoovering to distract yourself. How are you feeling, having had a sleep?
Yeah, the team have been fantastic. You know, think after the Glasgow derby, the resilience, and I mean, this team went to the well so many times, and they've provided, you know, the thing was, it should have been 3 or 4 up. We should have been 3 or 4 up on another night with, refereeing decisions and all the rest of it. And Kasper Schmeichel, it was immense last night for all he had to do, but he did it fantastic. The last 5 minutes, when I saw injury time, I just said, I need to do something, and it just ended up hoovering in front of the goal. I was actually sitting on the floor like this, and then I saw the last. I didn't even see it, and then the whistle blew. But I'm delighted for the team, for us. We're only getting £1 million to get into the next round. I was looking at the payments. I thought we were going to get a lot more than that.
I think it's a bit more. I think it's a bit more than that. I think it's 2 just for a win. So, or €2 million.
Yeah, it's all broken down with TV money as well. It might be like $1 million for qualifying, but then there'll be a bonus for the position you qualify in, and then there'll be TV money and stuff. So I'm sure someone will do a massive breakdown on Twitter for us. I think that'll probably be worth a decent amount to us, especially depending on who we draw as well, right? Because there's a lot added onto that.
Yeah, Kasper is immense. Like, he was just unbelievable. Like, that's real stalwart at the back. I don't think Big Joe would have done what Kasper did last night. Sorry, Paul.
Here we go. Lost in Bangkok coming in. I don't know how accurate this is, so we'll believe him for now. 6 million in total for making the playoffs. I don't know if that's including the 2 million for the win, or that 6 million on top of the 2 million for the win. But either way, it's the money's great, and we absolutely need it. But I think for most Celtic fans, it really, that we wanted to, with the squad we put together, second season for Brendan Rodgers. Some of this group have been together for a long time now. There was a real opportunity to, in the new format, as Ian said earlier, to go and try and get into that knockout stage. And that was the achievement for the season. And we've done it. We will get into talking about the possibilities of where we land in the playoff. But given the start we had, given to the tournament, given the draw we had, let's be honest, pretty favourable. 4 of our 8 games are in those bottom spots. If we'd failed to make this, then I think it's hugely disappointing, and it's another nearly men story that we've seen all too often in this last 15, 20 years. So yeah, delighted for the players, delighted for us as a fan base. In the aftermatch and in the run-up, actually, both the manager and Callum McGregor spoke about maturity and resilience, and I think we showed that across this campaign thus far. You know, we in games where we've got draws, potentially would have lost that a season or 2 or 3 ago. Games where we've dug out a win like last night, and it wasn't pretty. It was beautiful a lot of the first half without the final finish, but a lot of the second half was hard work and hoovering if you're Brian. But we found a way to win, and I'll be honest, and it's easy to say after the fact, I still fancied us deep in the game to get something. You know, they were pretty resilient, but they rode their luck. Early on, I thought that, you know, once their chances galore and their goal was charmed, I was kind of like, this could be their Atalanta night. You know, this could be the equivalent of us at Atalanta. And we as the team that doesn't maybe win that game would have been cursing it, but they'd have been celebrating it as we did, as a brilliant backs to wall performance and a great point on the road. Thankfully, you know, it didn't happen. But look, we've chatted a lot about that. Let's get into the game. Ian, any surprises with the lineup for you? Unchanged. I guess probably our best team on paper.
Yeah, I mean, no surprises with the lineup. I think, you know, various group chats down the CSC and stuff like that, I think everyone would have liked McCowan to start instead of Hatate, given his form. I know there might be some revisionism over the course of this one. I mean, look, you know, I think we've also got to be honest. You know, you can say that Hatate was the difference to play that ball, but you can also say that he was probably one of our poorest performers on the night. And I think, like, you know, the longer it was, yeah, he just kind of gave the ball away. Didn't really do too much. Like, don't get me wrong, had a couple of good kind of long shots on target, but you know, well, I mean, Taylor as well. Usual suspects. I just think, yeah, that would have been the only change that I would have liked to have seen. Understand why he plays Hatate, understand why he sits with Hatate, and ultimately he's right about it. And you know, me and other people like me look like the dafties, which is fair enough. You've got to take that medicine. But yeah, kind of as expected, and yeah, was, you know, like you say, team started really well, and was happy to, you know, thought it was going to go well in that first half.
Yeah. Eugene Ritchie says Hatate always turns up for these games. Nobody else makes a pass like that last night. And I've got to agree with him. I disagree with you a little bit, Ian. I thought he had a really good game. One of our better performers. There was a period towards the middle to end of the second half where he sort of looked done, and then he found a second wind. He was charging down there. Was it like in injury time, like in the stoppage time? He's charging.
He saved so much energy that second half. That's why. Yeah.
Come on.
He might not have played the pass if he hadn't saved that energy. Look. I think we all know what Hatate's benefits are, and we all know what the drawbacks are. I think, you know, McCowan might lack that killer pass that Hatate has, but McCowan's got more goals in him, more enthusiasm, more energy and stuff like that. I think it's, you know, there's a debate to be had about it, but like Hatate does have class. He's just massively inconsistent.
Did you think the early booking on Kuhn sort of held him back a bit? Because I thought he had one of his quieter games, you know, certain time in the second half, you know, it's...
Nah, I don't think it did. Like, at the end of the day, defensive duties is not really his main thing. Yeah, he's got to track back, but I thought he had an off game. Like, he wasn't at the level. Like, very early on, first few minutes, he's got the ball out left, and I think he just gets out of his feet and has a crack, and then he tries to dance in, and he did what he's been doing earlier in the season before he fully hit form, and a bit at the end of last season, where he was unwilling to pull the trigger or make a decision and just kept going until he sort of got blocked. I didn't really feel like he had that good a game, to be honest, and not brilliant end product. I thought he was quiet, and he should have been probably taken off a little bit earlier. I think he lasted the whole game, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he.
I think he got taken off at the end.
Oh, very, very late on, I think he did. Was it not him that went for Scales?
I think so, yeah.
Scales, yeah.
So yeah, sort of that was just shoring things up after Maeda got walked. We sort of drifted into, I guess, player performances, but yeah, there was a ton of chances early on. We played some great football. So the ball's in the back of the net 3 times. On the 2 offsides, are we just saying that's unlucky, or are we critical of Kyogo and Maeda for not getting that a bit better?
Do you know what we were saying last night in the CSC? You know, when the Scotch people go, I can't remember what the sketch was, and the person goes, what am I like? What am I like? Sort of thing. We reckon there must be like a Japanese expression for what am I like, and that's what Maeda says. Because Maeda, do you know what I mean? Maeda is forgiven for so much, rightly, because he gets so much in the bank. But like when he does something mad, you can just imagine him saying the Japanese version, like, what am I like? Because, in the next minute, he's going to do something brilliant. I think we're just unlucky. Like we've said it time and time again on here. If Maeda could be the best pieces of Maeda consistently, he'd be at like Real Madrid or something, because he is literally, in those moments, he just seems spectacular, and he's got such an engine on him. So I don't think we can be critical too much. I just think it's one of those ones that it just seemed like we were just nearly all the time. And to be honest with you, I think the bigger kind of shock in that first period was the fact that we didn't get that penalty from the referee. The referee had properly heavy main character syndrome. We'll probably go on and talk about that. But there was a foul that came 2 minutes after the one that was in the box that was a lot softer, and he gave a free kick for it. So I think that was more, we could have had a penalty earlier for that as well. So the missed chances are just, fraction offside. I don't think we can expect more, because that's how they play. They play on the line, and that's the chance they'll take. But yeah, just as what it is, I guess.
So that was that the penalty? That wasn't shown in the highlights package I saw either. Was it on Maeda? That
Maeda,
yeah. And he kind of kicks the guy kicks his leg, and he kind of like stumbles and kind of falls over a bit. And the referee's like, no. And you're like, well, the guy didn't get the ball. He's tripped the player up to stop him from getting to it. What's the threshold for a penalty? I get it had been soft. I would, be one of those ones that say it's soft, but he didn't get the ball, the player. But again, it's, it's funny to see the commentary from certain other teams saying, oh, there's Celtic getting a proper referee and stuff like that. So we always seem to get these referees.
There's at least quite junior. He was at Norwegian or something, wasn't he?
Yeah, but the thing was, Brian, there was at least, you could have said there was players that should have been booked in the first half that were getting their second yellows. Like that captain, he was a big clogger. He took someone out at the beginning of the first half. Nothing happened to him, and then he got his yellow at the end. But he might not have been there to score the own goal. So I guess that one worked out all right for us.
While we're on the referee, let's talk about that. Like, I agree with you, and I think the Maeda one, I was shouting for a penalty. Absolutely, there's enough contact for me. I don't think the one we're given, I don't think there's a huge amount of contact. There's not enough for him to go down. In the modern game, you'll always get it. There's a touch on his shoulder, and he collapses and he gets it. But I think the Maeda one's at least as much of a penalty as the Taylor one, if not more. I thought their left back was lucky not to be walking. Never mind not booked. There was just constant. There was basically sort of body check assault in the corner, which she got away with barely a talking to, and then there was a pretty heavy challenge earlier in the first half, and he got off with that as well. I agree with you, Ian. I thought but
the referee was doing that mad thing, right, where we're getting the free kick from attacking, and then he's bringing the player over, and he's going, no more like that, letting the opposition get a chance to get organised. And you're like, if you're not going to call, and that was for that left back, if you're not going to call him over and book him, then there's no point in calling him over so they can all get themselves organised in defence again. I thought he had a terrible game, the referee. Really, really terrible game.
And the linesman. The linesman was very poor. I called him a baldy so-and-so and not several times. It was apologies to all our non-hirsute friends. But
Gab's in the comments, so careful.
Careful. But yeah, he was brutal, and he was right beside, as you say, the left back pretty much assaulted Kuhn, and I think AJ got a touch as well. He got it, and Kyogo got a bloody mouth as well. He didn't someone stick an elbow in him.
Well, that was an interesting. I might not have been in a group chat, like I said, it might have been one of the others, but I was in. But I was sort of like, he didn't see it, right? The ref didn't see that, and then suddenly the yellow card's brandished. So how's he arrived at that? Is is that somebody in his ear just saying, "Oh, you better do something," rather than go to
probably a linesman, and he'll say it's like a clash. It's not enough for violent conduct or something. Yeah. These sort of things are just becoming more and more complex because we talked about it the other week about the clear and obvious error, like the fact that penalty he's gone no. Like, you can't call that back for a clear and obvious error. I didn't think Maeda's sending off was a clear and obvious error, even when you looked back at the thing. And then there was also one, you're talking about the linesman, Bri, when they hadn't called a clear offside, and then Young Boys had a corner, and had they scored from that,
it would have
that would have counted because a different phase of play. But he spotted every single offside for us. Just a really not really poor. And I do believe that referee, in addition to being poor, is that main character syndrome. That bit at the end with Maeda, I had no doubt in my mind that he was going to send him off because he wanted to be that guy.
Yeah.
When
you think about the referees, right? Obviously, the top league in Europe is Premier League or Spanish, Italian. Where's Norway sit in the stage of referees? You know what I mean? Really, could we not have got like a Portuguese or a French referee in for that? Do you know for a game of that magnitude?
They don't let Scottish referees operate at that magnitude, Brian. So
I think the thing is, there's so many games now because you got conference, you got all the rest of them. I think it's just, and I do believe there is like a ranking system for them. So I think he will have earned that game, and I would probably say he'll probably get good marks for that on a technical basis because there's a lot of technically he did things right. When realistically, it's like the XG, isn't it? So you can say, the XG looks good, but then with your eyes, you're just like, well, does that match up?
I think we labour the point on him, but Brown Warrior 119 here is saying no close up on the Kyogo incident, which I found strange. Pointing that back to me, thanks. I agree. We saw it once from a far away position. Somebody obviously spoke to him, either a linesman or a fourth official. Pretty sure VAR can't get involved in that unless they're asked to. Well, I guess they can get involved in it, but not for a yellow. So if VAR were getting involved,
no, I think if it's violent conduct, then I think this is the confusion. I think if it is violent conduct, it would be an automatic red because it's that factual one. Like there's a penalty or something. I think there's something in the rules with that, but I'm not entirely clear.
But hang on, if I'm assuming Maeda got sent off, and we're jumping about all over the place here, but you guys have all seen the game, so you can follow. I'm assuming Maeda got sent off for violent conduct. So
do you know what? I'm not sure we'll know if he gets a 3-game ban or a 1-game ban, because the 1-game ban is something like excessive force, and the 3-game ban is the violent conduct or something. So someone was saying this last night, and I don't know it myself, but there's a distinction. We'll know when he gets the ban.
What it was. Did he not get a second yellow? And
he got a yellow, and he got the yellow rescinded. They did the old, and then got the red out. So interested to see if he gets a 3-match ban for that. It's ludicrous. Like
just
he's had a little bit of a rash nibble, but
I'm not even sure he has. I mean, I know he has, but I still think he's going for the ball. You look at where he's looking. He's going for the ball. It's a yellow at worst, because he could still another little angle and he's getting in there. The guy's leg is just in the way, and he's not taken a proper swing to like kick the guy. And then the guy's gone down like he's been shot. But is what it is. And Maeda of all people should know better, given the Atletico game where he get sent off for nothing.
McLaughlin pieces. The tackle on Maeda to get him sent off was assault because he took a swipe at Maeda again before Dyson retaliated. That's the thing. It's double standards as far as I'm concerned.
And again, Kyogo was the elbow. You saw your guy going like that. It was.
I I thought it was more of an open arm. It might have been a clenched fist, but it was
Hold
definitely
on, take
long
off
arm.
the green glasses here.
He definitely caught him with like this hand / top of his arm as opposed to an elbow. But that's why I was disappointed that you didn't get any close up. Look, we've got nearly 370 odd live with us, so thank you for being involved. Jump in the comments. There's tons going on. I will try and share them as we go. You guys are a big part of the show. It's a lot of what we're about. Ian, we'll sort of jump back into the first half. Surely we just thought it was a matter of time before a goal was going to come and it was all going to click and it wasn't going to get ruled out.
I don't think anyone who's watched our last 4-5 games, maybe, I think there's apprehension there, right? Because we've said the problem is usually we get the goal and then it's like we're just waiting to kind of mess up and lose that lead. I think this time round, it was like the longer it went on, you could tell there was like a little bit of nerves in the players. And again, there's a lot at stake. There's a lot of pressure in this. And again, credit to the team because he didn't shy away from that in the build-up. People like Kalmack and Rodgers actually talking about this being the test. They were deliberately putting pressure on themselves. So, yeah, it kind of, in one way, it felt like it was a matter of time because we were playing well. But I think anyone of a certain age just has that Celtic in Europe sort of like thing in the background that we're going to give away something very daft here. Like, you know, there's this, you just always feel that that's the possibility in spite of the evidence of us actually playing really well, creating chances and all the rest of it.
Yeah, the longer the half went, you were thinking, is this history repeating itself again? Both, you know, the terrible European nights, but even just recent history. Like there's a couple of games in the last, maybe the last 2 games, everything's bloody after being up since 4:45 a.m. and not doing a day's work as well, and then coming straight on here. But you know, we've had, I think, two out of the last 3 league games, or the last 2 league games, we've basically dominated the first half entirely and then been pegged back, or just not made the most of it. And there was a little bit of that going on with last night. And then I think the one thing you do say, and we will get to it in a bit, but great finishing by Kyogo, ball in the net 3 times. Like, where was that against Killy the other night when he went through and he slams it past the post when
he knew he was off? That's what it was, Paul. He knew he was his farewell appearance. That's why.
We'll get to it. So another night he could have had 2 or 3. The McGregor one, I was pretty convinced that would get pulled back, but your main man, the ref, was giving it big play on. Like he thought, and I thought, oh, like maybe they'll stick with the on-field decision because he's so confident. He's sort of waving them away. And he obviously thought from his angle that McGregor had just nicked it, but he'd obviously come clean through. I think all the offsides, there's no debate on any of them, and it was a foul. But great finish. And I think first half, it was all there for us. But as the game went on, we really sort of put ourselves in a bit of trouble, and it kind of stems from right before halftime. We get a penalty. We think, here we go, break the deadlock. We could push on second half, because I honestly felt if we got one in that first half, it could have been a truckload. Even the same if we got one early in the second half, I think we could have gone on and put a boatload past them. I think their heads would have gone down, but the longer it went, the more they dug in. Poor penalty, Ian.
Yeah, poor penalty. Nothing. I think none of us are fans of the kind of stuttering run. I think the kind of worst thing about that miss as well is Engels was having such a good game. He was having like such a good game. He's finding everyone these passes, driving forward. He was actually getting into the spaces and stuff like that. It was just a poor penalty. I joked that the goalkeeper looked like Baron Trump there one. But that hair, he looked like a Baron Trump clone. And so just unfortunate. And these things happen. I think Engels is good technique, and he's got better technique than that. But that goes back to the point of they've all put pressure on themselves to deliver, and that looked like a penalty under pressure. Do you know what I mean? And he knew that we'd had 3 goals disallowed, and it was all on him, and what that kind of meant.
I agree. I agree with you. I thought he was having a stormer of a game. His deliveries from set pieces were great. He was getting into channels and playing balls into the area. His passing was good. His heading was good. Yeah, there was the odd misplaced pass, as there was by all the midfield, but I thought he was having a great game. And as McLaughlin P says here, the penalty miss affected him mentally in the second half, and I think he did. I think he came on to a little bit of, like, he had some nice little passing. He maybe put Meira in with that cute little one round the corner, and he was involved in some other bits and pieces, but that was later on in the half before he got hooked. I definitely think the first 10, 15 minutes of the half, he struggled to get his head back up, and you saw him sort of shaking his head when he went over to take that corner shortly after the penalty miss. So definitely affected him for a little bit. There's a good comment here that I saved from earlier. Eugene Ritchie says, after a penalty miss a year ago, our heads would go down. Last night, they never did. Definitely a massive step up for the team. Last night, the crowd stayed with the team till the very end. It's a brilliant comment. It's absolutely spot on. I watched the highlights just before we came back on air. As I said, some of the key moments were missing, but one of the umpteen replays that they do on the Australian Stan Sports, who's got the Champions League stuff, is they show you every major goal or save from about 10 angles. And there was an angle they showed right behind Engels, and you could see Karl Mack in the picture, CCV in the picture, one or two others. And they were all standing with their hands on their hips. And when it was saved, not one single player was like fuming or head on hands. They were just unmoved. And it was as if, right, we're just going to have to go again. And it was obviously a setback, but and we didn't play great for chunks of the second half, but ultimately we found a way to win. And I think, this comment spot on. I think we've seen a real difference in recent times, and that maturity that both the manager and the skipper talked about, I think came to fruition.
Well, I think the crowd was fantastic last night. The crowd never stopped from literally first second to the very end. The crowd stayed with us. They were brilliant. They really were. And the noise, I haven't heard Celtic Park be as noisy as that. And I was watching it on RTE last night. It was the first free game I got this year, and there was no worries about streaming. But the commentators were talking over "You'll Never Walk Alone" and all. Ronnie Whelan and Dietmar Hamann. I was like, "Shut up, lads! We want to hear." But the crowd were unbelievable, and I think it was a pressure cooker kind of game, and the shackles hopefully will be off the team now, and as you say, Paul, they could maybe go up to Villa, and who knows,
Yeah, so we'll cover off the rest of the game, and then we'll have a chat about where it leaves us, and some of the rumor mill that's maybe dampening our spirits somewhat. So second half, I thought at halftime this is going to give this team a boost. They're going to come out. They're going to be a bit more on the forward foot. They're going to try and put us under a bit of pressure. They're going to press a little bit higher up the pitch, and they're going to try and grab something and give themselves something to hang on to. And it's kind of how it played out. And it took us quite a while to sort of put any meaningful period of play together and start to cause some danger. And really that, for me, it mostly came down the left-hand side. I thought our right side was disappointing most of the night. At one point, I think there was a break in play when one of their players went down in the first half. Rodgers got a few of them over, and he was in AJ's ear, and I think in Kuhn's ear, to sort of get back to working that sort of connection down the right-hand side. And I never really came. The most dangerous moments on the right-hand side came from Engels getting into those areas and getting balls across the face. So, yeah, I think probably disappointing that the right side didn't fire as it has done most of the season, but the left side certainly kind of stepped up, particularly Meira. Again, he was having a stormer until he obviously contrived to get himself sent off. But yeah, there was a couple of good, what do you think of the one where, was it Engels had the shot from inside the box and it sort of span up in the air and Meira came flying in and headed it? I thought that was a
defensive header. Yeah,
put straight over the bar. I thought that was quite an easy chance to.
What my like? The Japanese, what my like?
Yeah, what my like?
That's me just guy that header over the bar. What my like?
Well, I saw the XG, and most of us are not super fans of XG on this, but I saw the XG for us was 2.19. And I'm at a loss to know exactly.
Engels had a
Hatate had a good shot bent it round the corner
early on,
and I think the Ida's one will have counted for a lot at the end because he actually did get a shot on target. The keeper saved it and then rebounded it in, so that wouldn't have counted towards it. So I think there was definitely chances.
Trusty had a couple of good chances from corners, and I thought their killer keeper had a worldie. I mean, he was even the fact that he came up for the corner, the last minute of the game. But you think about that young boys team; they were a team that a new manager. They were very physical. They were 6'2" plus. Most of the players they had something to prove. They were thinking, we can be a damn squib here and spoil the party, and they nearly did. But cream rises to the top, and we got through it. I was delighted for Ida, celebrating an own goal. I was fucking.
I was fuming about the knee slide for an own goal.
Who cares? But listen,
I just think he's a miserable.
I got the hoover.
He's a miserable sod. Like if it wasn't for my dodgy old knees and my bloody concrete floor, I'd have been doing a knee slide as well. To be honest, in fact, I look without his. Okay, it's a fantastic ball. It's a worldie ball. We've got McLaughlin P. I saved this from earlier. Hatate pass, the best pass he's seen since McStay put Morris away to slot in McAvenny in 88. And any of us of that vintage will remember that goal. I think we won that game 2-0 at home. It was a brilliant pass. And it was up there. It was that was world-class passing. And Ida makes a great run. He's just onside. He gets in behind. He probably should do better. But I think even just the fact that he ended in the net will hopefully give him the confidence boost. There's not a goal goes down against his name, but he's absolutely at the heart of that. And the celebrations from on the pitch, in the stadium, and around the world, in living rooms all over, in pubs all over the place, shows how important a moment it was. And hopefully it gives him a real kick on, because if he is to be believed, then he's going to be our main striker for the rest of the season. Sorry, we will get to that.
The two things there. So the Hatate ball, world class. I mean, if Hatate could just find consistency and make his passes more often and get turned more often and stuff like that, no one would have an issue. It's just his lack of consistency. And again, I get it. Like there's the amount of games, there's different factors with it. So I'm not like completely excusing him, but he does need to get better, because O'Reilly was very consistent. O'Reilly had bad games, but he had a lot fewer bad games, which is the difference in that level. And I think with Ida, what you have to give Ida massive credit for, if you watch back in the replays, he's so strong. And one of the criticisms Ida has come in for, and I know I've done it, is him being weak for such a big guy. Like he's let people go over the top of him to head balls. He's kind of been almost shunted off at sometimes and things like that. There was a big guy in his back that he was holding off, and he got the shot away. Yes, you could argue he should do better. He should put it through the legs or bend it, but you got to put that down to the amount of pressure the guy who was basically climbing all over his back was on. So yeah, hopefully he takes hopefully he gets a boost from it, because he did a lot well there. His run was good. He got his body in front. He held the guy off well. He did a lot right. And it's just unfortunate, I guess, for him that it didn't go straight in, because a moment like that would have been even more massive for him.
Yeah, absolutely. One last comment on Hatate for now from the boss. So Gav's on there with the Celtic World tag saying he's a Hatate critic. No shit. But he definitely did come up with the good. He was done with him a few weeks ago. He definitely came up with the goods when it mattered last night. Had a decent game overall. Undoubted talent, just so inconsistent. Well, yeah. Hopefully, I thought he played well against Killie. He started to show a bit more of his old form again last night. Hopefully it's not isolated. Hopefully this is the start of a run of form for the end of the season. I think if he wants the move he craves, he's going to need to put a consistent.
He's running out of time. He's 28 now. He's running out of time.
Do you think he becomes a better player whenever Bernardo comes on the pitch? Because he seems to have the shackles off whenever we make that sub. Whenever Engels comes off, or I just something I noticed. I think he plays with a lot more freedom when the midfielder.
I think, Brian. I think the main thing is, and I noticed this again with Calmac last night. Calmack's got to just take a minute to see if he's able to turn in that midfield. So often he's not getting pressure. He could turn and he could lay it off to attack and stuff like that, or he could lay it off to Kuhn, and it just goes back between the centre backs. We've talked about it a lot, and I just don't know why that change isn't being made, because we could be a lot quicker. And Hatate facing the goal is actually, it's the turning, it's the getting into that position to be facing. And if Calmack could just better, it's the same thing with Kuhn. Kuhn didn't have his best game last night, but I would argue he wasn't getting in the ball in the places where he makes a difference. And maybe that's young boys getting in there and stopping the way that we play and stuff. But we need to find a way to get our most effective players not only on the ball, but also on the ball in the positions that they want it in order to make the difference.
Yeah, I think absolutely. There's a tendency just to sometimes play a little bit too simple. I thought Cal had a good game again. I thought there were moments where the shackles did wear off him. He was early in the first half. They were playing 4-4-2, and both those two strikers were dropping, basically sitting either side of him, so they're kind of blocking his passing lanes, and he wasn't receiving as much. But I think we sort of managed to play around that and through that, and yes, as the half wore on and chances were created.
I thought Calmack was good, Paul. I thought Calmack was good, but I'm just like, I know he can be more. Like you're saying, there were some of those ones where he's marauding about and he was like kind of driving forward and stuff, and you're like, he can do this more often. There must be a tweak we can make to let him do it more often, because we don't need him doing half the stuff he's doing.
No, that's fair. That's fair. And is that manager guidance, or is that just him as an slightly older player deciding to, maintain and sort of manages fitness throughout the course of the game and all the games that are happening? So I think we've covered a lot on the game and performances. We touched it very briefly, but I want to spend a little bit more time on Kasper Schmeichel's performance, because for me, as good as Hatate was, as good as Miera was, as good as Cal was, for me, you don't get that win without Kasper Schmeichel. He was my man of the match. The save, the double save, the first part of the double save is a phenomenal strike, phenomenal save. The guy hits it really, really hard. Yeah, it's not right in the corner, but it comes at him in a flash, and he shows why we've extended his contract for another year. Brilliant reflex save. And then when it rebounds, he's alive to it quicker than Trusty is. Yeah. Trusty's like almost spinning in a circle, doesn't know whether it's in front of him, behind him, where it's landed. To be fair, he gets his bearings quick enough to get out, I'd stick out a leg and do a bit of a block. But almost that makes the follow-up save even better, because it takes a deflection before it reaches circle, and then he manages to get a solid block on it and keep it out the net. And then okay, the guy doesn't make a great contact right at the death, but that could go anywhere, and he makes a solid save, and you can breathe and put the vacuum cleaner down, Brian, and celebrate a great win. And the journey continues as Gav's named the episode, Celtic's UCL mission continues, and it does, and that probably brings us to a good point to sort of speculate on what happens next. We're home and hosed and into the playoffs. Brian, we talked briefly about the trip to Birmingham. How do you think that goes? Is it a free hit? In your eyes, does it matter what the result is? How do you think we'll go?
I think psychologically the players will go and have a bit more freedom. The fact that we're there, we're through to the next round. Villa haven't been great. Recently they were 2-0 down against City, I think, and they come back 2 each. But they haven't been. I think it's there to be taken. But we don't need to put the team under that pressure to go and get the result, if you know what I mean. I'd take a draw, we put 10 men behind the ball and just get in and get out, get a point, as Mo says. But there's no reason we can't. I mean, does it help us or hinder us if we win? If we win, we're up to what, 14 points?
15.
15 points. And
I don't think we can plan it.
You can't plan it.
To be honest, I think a draw is the dangerous result because it probably leaves us in the middle of the pack somewhere.
The thing is, there's so many different games that are interdependent on it. This is the thing. I think at the moment, someone said if it was all ended today, we're playing like Bayern or Real Madrid.
Yeah,
something like that, aren't we?
Or Juventus potentially. I think those are the three.
It could be 6 or 7 more, depending on how things fall. So it's just one of those ones. We've talked about this before: form and momentum and consistency and stuff like that. If we put in the thing is, if we put in a good performance against Villa are a very decent team this year. Got a lot of good players, and we're not really, if we avoid a Real, a Bayern, there's a couple of Villa type teams in that we could get drawn against. So a good performance against them could give us a massive boost going into something like that.
Could we get Dortmund again? Because they sacked their manager.
I think there's any number of teams we could get. As Ian says, there's teams that are currently sitting in the top 8 that could drop down. There's teams that are in the bottom 8 that could scrape themselves out.
Yeah, I thought City. Right. Apologies for that.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I'll put you right. My view on it is the mission was to get to the playoffs. With the draw and the early part of the first win, then the Leipzig game. If you don't qualify for the playoffs after that, there's a question to be asked. Are you ever going to get a better chance? So mission accomplished as far as I'm concerned. And this my view in this sort of ties in nicely to the next point that we'll get to in a little minute is. We all want to see signings come in. We don't want to see our best players go. I certainly don't want to see Kyogo go. One, I'm probably my favourite player. But a few cup ties, and we've won a treble, in my view. The league's, with who you've got, the league will be won.
Yeah.
The league's done. I don't care what it is. The league is done. I call the league after 6 games.
You're trying to justify selling Kyogo, Paul. I can feel it.
I'm not going to try and I'm going to make a point that there's no expectations that we get through a playoff. The mission was to get to the playoffs. Anything from here is a bonus. Yeah, we want to have a crack at it. But given we've just talked about potentially Real Madrid or Bayern Munich, I don't think there's anyone that expects us to get through a 2-legged tie against either of those types of teams. So given that's a distinct possibility, we're probably at the end of the road in Europe. Sensible head on for once. I'm a dreamer, but we're probably at the end. So we've mission accomplished on that. Mission accomplished. Do you think we can win the league without Kyogo, Ian?
I think if we replace him, I mean, look, even if all of our centre forwards get injured, even if Ida and Kenny get injured, I'd still say we'd have to really mess up to not win the league, if I'm completely honest. Do you know what I mean? Because we are like that far ahead. But I don't subscribe to your, we're out of the next round in Europe. If we bring in KT, if Jota comes back, if we hold on to Kyogo, maybe even bring in Feast, Gardner, whatever it is, then we could be a match for anyone if we make the right moves.
So I don't think Kvistgaard is coming unless Kyogo's going, right? So we're not going to have 3 first-choice strikers. At the beginning of the season, Roger says he wants 2 first-choice strikers, which are Ida and Kyogo, and a third younger striker. Now, we didn't have one. Kenny's back. If he doesn't go back out on loan, it's him, right? So that's the 3. Unless one of them are sold, Ida's not going to be sold, let's be honest. Nobody's going to buy him, on his current form. So the only way Kvistgaard is coming in is if we sell Kyogo. Now, let me be abundantly clear, because I'm taking pelters in the comments. I do not want us to sell Kyogo. Categorically, I do not want us to sell Kyogo. If I look at it rationally...
No, Paul, but this is the thing, right? No one wants to look at Kyogo rationally. There's no.
I know they don't.
Kyogo, I'm genuinely saying, right, I would keep Kyogo until he was 40. I would do. We should have held on to Nakamura lost. And I know people are like, oh, his value is going to depreciate and stuff. His market value might depreciate, but the guy is there's no one been more loved since Larson. Everyone loves Kyogo. Great guy to have about the place and stuff. There's stuff that's worth more than money. Yeah. And I just think, look, Katie and Jota were laughing. We don't need to get rid of Kyogo. Kyogo would probably, I mean, I know some people are saying he wants away. I can't see that myself. He doesn't act like a guy that wants to go.
Well,
if he does, Japanese. Fair play.
He was Japanese. He's Japanese and fully respectful. But let's be honest. He's turned 30. Yeah. It's his last chance for a big payday. It's his last chance to test himself in a better quality league. And league
France is a better.
It's better than the Scottish Premier League.
That's debatable. I'm sorry, that is debatable. It might be a more athletic a league, but that league is rubbish. Since Mbappe and Messi left, PSG, are just like the only team that's there. I'm being a bit disparaging to France. I know I am. I just don't get the hype around France. I don't get it being a significantly better league. I think if he wants to go and earn money and more exposure, he should go to the MLS.
Well, come on, the French league's better than MLS. At least he's still have
opportunity. It is in terms of like the standings, but I think in terms of everything else, I mean, who watches the French league apart from the French?
Yeah, who watches the Scottish league apart from the Scottish, mate? I agree with Henrik Larsson here. It's all about Kyogo. If he wants to go, like Larsson, he's entitled to go. And 10 million and/or bits of the Jota deal coming. Like I saw a comment there, who wants to be rational around here? I've lost it, but it was an absolute spot on comment. Who wants to be rational around here, Paul? Was the comment. But if you get 10 million and Jota,
Brian, are you selling Kyogo? Are you in on this?
I'm not selling him. If he's going to go, I'd much rather it was the end of the season.
But I would rather have somebody like, for example, if Jota was playing in that game last night, would he have got offside? Would he have made the runs early? Jota's a big game player, always scores, doesn't need 2 or 3 chances. Kyogo does need 2 or 3 chances. I thought Kyogo was fabulous out in the wing. Those couple of times we played him out there. I thought, and as you say, Ian, keep him, you keep him on till he's 40. But if you were asking me the question, I would rather have Jota than Kyogo. Because just for the big game mentality. I love Kyogo. If it was out of the 3, I'd definitely Maeda. I would be.
I think I'd fight people for Kyogo to stay. I think I'm not being a violent man, but I'd happily have a fight with someone to keep Kyogo. I'm being daft. I know I'm being daft, but I mean,
he does that too. It's like he's a player we adore, and rightly so. A Hunskelper extraordinaire.
Yeah.
Rise to the big occasion, great goals, brilliant attitude, amazing work rate. I guess Brendan Rodgers has been very effusive in his praise of him, particularly in the last couple of weeks, and saying that he's a perfect player for my system. I don't think he is. I think he prefers somebody more physical, and he's often said when Kyogo and Ida haven't been scoring this season, he's often said, "I don't need my main striker to be the main goal scorer, and they'll get in the lion's share of the goals because the way we set up, wingers will contribute a lot." And they have. Kuhn and Miera are our top goal scorers, and Kyogo sort of catching them up. But on that basis, it's not as big a deal to never mind Kyogo, whoever your main striker is, let them go mid-season, because that's not your main attacking threat. That's not where it's coming from. It's coming from midfield. It's coming from wide.
I get the logic, Paul. I do get the logic and understand the logic of all the things, but to me, Kyogo is just not a logical decision. It's just not like you say. We're not going to lose the league. We're not going to lose the league. So why, we don't need to make that sort of logical decision. Let's enjoy him for another 6 months. Another what is he? Let's enjoy him for another decade. Get a contract signed.
I'm on the Kyogo bus. I wouldn't sell him either, but I'm just saying why it might be a decision might be being made. Monty, not true. I wouldn't be happy at all.
Okay,
I just don't think there's a lot of risk in selling him at this point in the season in terms of where our season finishes.
Okay, we get Kate.
And Gav, look at Gav riling up the comments. Low-key hates Kyogo. Yeah, good one. Just nonsense going on.
Who approves the team more? Kyogo staying or Jota coming in. So
were you going to lose?
That sounds like logic again, Brian. I'm not having it.
Not from me.
Who
do I feel?
So
We
who's
can have both. We've got so much money in the bank.
Who's losing their jumper for Jota? Is Maeda going to play forward?
I think the reason we need Jota is we need to be able to rest people and actually have some proper competition. That's the thing with the wide area, because those are the ones that we because Yang's not it, Palmer's not it, Forrest is injured, and who knows what it'll be like when he comes back. So the winger is the big priority. And if Jota is there and a deal is to be done, we got so much money in the bank. Make the easy decision. Like, just make you've done KT. That's an easy decision. Do you know what another easy decision is? Jota. Just make that. Do you know what another easy decision is? Keep Kyogo.
I say get Jota in, get KT in, keep Kyogo. Throw another. If we're keeping KT, we probably need another left back as well, because Taylor's probably on his way, isn't he? And Vi's going to go. So, lively debate. Obviously, a bit of tongue in cheek going on, and also a bit of logic, which apparently doesn't go down well. I saw some comments saying this is the typical Scottish press right after something like this happens. I think it started from France. It started in the French press.
Fine being so disparaging to them in their league.
So yeah, it was the French press. I think we're going to wrap up relatively quickly because Ian, you need to go. Before we do our final goodbyes, I just want to send this quick message. Thanks. There's 450, 500 people online right now watching us. Thank you for it. If you're not already liking the episodes or subscribing, I ask you to pay attention here.
Ciao
please.
ragazzi. I cannot believe how great a Celtic world is. Magnificent. It's very important to subscribe. Everybody do it immediately. Okay.
Immediately.
So,
yeah.
Lennon Miller. Is Lennon Miller coming in to replace Kyogo?
Well, I hope not.
I'm sorry, I'm just.
We've gone completely off piste. Well, look, guys, I think we're pretty much going to wrap it up early because Ian's got a meeting to get to, and we've covered the game in a lot of detail. We've got a bit off our chest. I think the great news is we're in the next round. Doesn't really matter who we get, and we can go down to Birmingham and enjoy ourselves. So yeah, all that's left to say is thanks for your company, lads, and hail hail.
Hail hail. I love Kyogo.
I love Kyogo as well. Kyogo to stay.